Today we're diving into the intersection of law and creativity with a truly dynamic guest. She's a seasoned business litigator whose practice spans litigation, defamation, business law, and copyright. But what makes her unique is how she brings her gifts, her creative gifts, into her practice. From navigating high-stakes business disputes to protecting original works, she's incorporating imagination and passion. Please join me in welcoming attorney Cynthia Conlin to the show. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you for that nice intro.
Well, full disclosure, you are one of my favorite business litigators and friends, and so I'm just happy to have you join us today. And one of the reasons we would like to know about your creative input with the law is people don't normally think about creativity with the practice of law. How do you incorporate that?
Well, it's true because if you think about, when most people think about law, they're thinking about statutes and, I don't know, bankruptcy and all this. It does, and there are aspects of the law that can be boring, but I find that when it comes to litigation, like what I do, I have to tell a story, and I have to also be extremely creative with getting what my client wants. Like, if not necessarily, I'm not just a hired hand out there to try to, but in order to put the law together in a way that is the argument that I'm trying to make, it sometimes requires creativity, and I can't, because there's not going to be a case that's exactly on point with what my facts are, so I have to, there's a lot of creativity in it. Mm-hmm.
Even from how you introduce it. So, for example, in your opening statement, because sometimes, and I'm thinking about how, isn't there a practice where you start with the end, and do you have a formula for how you do your creative version of your complaint?
My background comes from journalism, and that's when I first learned, I don't want to say I first learned how to write, but when I learned how to really, I guess, form stories. Mm-hmm. And I tend to go back to journalistic writing because in journalism, you want to lead with your strongest or most important point that you're trying to make. Mm-hmm. And in law, like if I'm make an argument for a judge, mm-hmm. I want to hit home what is the most important point that I want to get across at the beginning. But I need to make it interesting, and I need to create an opening that humanizes the situation, humanizes my client, humanizes everything that they're going through, because when it comes to litigating, it's usually people that have problems, and sometimes they can be very emotional, and so I have to bring that out and show it like it's.
But then there's a balance, because we've seen cases where an attorney may have overdone it or gotten reprimanded for using certain inflammatory language and those sorts of things, and so you do have
yes, and I think you can't be too creative, because there's like a line, mm-hmm. where if once you start becoming too creative, then you're lying. Yeah. And that's the whole point, is maintaining honesty, mm-hmm. being never lying. But there's a different way of, you can still be creative with honesty and with the facts. It's just how you portray things and what order you present them in.
And to that end, I'm wondering, how do you talk about this with your client? So your creative process, do you find that clients are usually happy about your creative input, or does any of it
may have? So okay. Yeah, it's hard to. A lot of times, I do a lot of written work, more so than oral arguments, and I always prepare things in writing, mm-hmm. and probably because my background, my skill set is I'm very strong in writing. Mm-hmm. So I'll create a draft and I'll give it to my client, and most of the time they're like, wow, they're blown away.
It's like reading a script. Huh?
Yeah, but of course I'm presenting the facts in their best light too. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, she totally gets me. This is everything, and it's not. completely the opposite of what the other side, like if I'm representing the defendant or the plaintiff, it's opposite of what the other litigant will be thinking. But it starts the stage, and it's just about taking their story into a digestible situation that marries the law, I guess, and then finding the law to go along with it, if that makes sense.
I mean, no, it does. And I think it probably is a light bulb moment for some of our viewers who are creative and thinking about how storytelling is going to play a role in any legal career they might be considering. You've been practicing now for
I think it's
about
been
16 years?
Yeah,
17?
This is 17, something like that, yeah.
Yes, and so my question is, how do you, because this is a high stress career or profession, and how do you incorporate mindfulness in that? Is your creative side playing a role in how you are less stressed than you could be?
That's a good question. I think, well, mindfulness is all about being present and not worrying about things that are outside our locus of control or our circle of control. A perfect example is the weather. We can't, if we know a hurricane's coming, it can be very stressful, but if we worry about it, we're only giving ourselves wrinkles. We're not changing the fact that a hurricane is coming. So being mindful is being present on only thinking about what you can control and only thinking about the present, not worrying about what happened in the past because it's spilled milk and things that are going to happen in the future. It really doesn't help you to worry about it. It just causes anxiety. So I try to focus on whatever case that I'm working on and focus on the issue that I have, the specific issue. And that doesn't mean that I don't plan. You have to plan in law because so I have weekly meetings to go over my case lists. And I do project ahead. I look at the calendar for the year and stuff. But when I'm working, and especially when I'm talking to a client, I have to focus on that moment and what's in there, what they're thinking about right then and there.
Well, I just want to say thank you for you spending time to share, because it's a gift. It's a gift for you to be so creative and to have this foundation as a writer and storytelling. And I'm sure that just you bringing that is a calming force to the people you're advocating for. So thank you for spending time with us and sharing.
Well, I'm honored. I'm definitely honored to be on this show. And thank you for having me.
Attorney Conlin has shown us that creativity isn't just for artists. It can transform how we approach even the most complex legal challenges. Her insights on blending art and advocacy remind us that bringing our whole selves to our work can open new doors and new possibilities. There's more Legal Connections after this. Stay with us.